the torture and release of Boniface Mwangi by road in Ukunda just shows how primitive and how insensitive the Tanzanian government is. And also, it also shows how primitive also our government is. Because how do you allow another government to torture an activist for simply getting into a country? There's nothing Boniface did. There's no charges. He did not go to the streets and start chanting. He did not do anything. He was just in their hotel having his breakfast and he was arrested. It also shows how our foreign affairs ministry works. Because how do you allow your citizen to be captured in another country, to be tortured, and then driven into your country by another authority? This is just a reflection of exactly how Kenyan government is. It's only that they allowed the Tanzanian government to torture Boniface Mwangi the same way they could have, only that now they'll act like, oh no, it was not done by us, it was done by another government. We were not involved in any way. Of course you are involved. The fact that Boniface Mwangi came into our country after being tortured for simply having the tag of an activist, and the government did nothing. Our foreign affairs ministry did nothing. There's no way they would say they did something, even if it's calling after 4 days. What does that even mean?
The information I have is that he has been released. How
do you let your citizen to be tortured by another government and then you call that release? That is not release. That is torture. And it actually shows that your government is weak. The Kenyan government is weak to allow its citizen to be tortured and dropped off like an animal inside their own country, and they do nothing. The only thing they come out and say is, yes, I confirm that he was released. That is total rubbish, total nonsense from our government.
Munaona wamepeleka tabia mbaya Tanzania. Sisi tunataka kuheshimu majirani nchi zetu za nje. Nyinyi wa Kenya hapa kutoka South Mugirango, hao watu ambaye wako na bad manners wafungwe wasifungwe? Wamehamia Tanzania kwa sababu wameokopa kushindana na Mheshimiwa William Ruto. Munaona wameenda huko kushindana na Suluhu. Tunawaambia wakuje hapa South Mugirango wause sera, wasiuse ukabila. Nyinyi mnasema hivyo ama sio hivyo? Hebu tuweke mkono tuangalie ishara ya upamoja Kenya.
Now, Kenyan activist Boniface Mwangi is currently airborne to Nairobi after he was picked up at the Kenya-Tanzania border in Kwale County. Moments after his release by the Tanzanian government, Mwangi, who had been detained by the Tanzanian authorities for the last 5 days, now looked visibly frail as he was wheeled into the check-in area at the Mombasa International Airport, where he was airlifted from. He is expected to receive further medical attention, with reports saying he may have been tortured and injured. Prime Cabinet and Foreign Affairs Secretary Musalia Mudavadi said the release followed high-level engagement between Kenyan and Tanzanian authorities.
Just happy to be back home. I have gone through very 4 dark days. I have been tortured very badly. I can barely walk. But I'm very concerned about Agatha because we were tortured together and they did very horrible things to us. So I hope that Agatha is safe. So wherever Agatha is, she should know that you're praying for her and for her safety. And thank you to everyone who spoke, who stood with us. The solidarity wasn't in vain.
Boni was dropped in Horohoro border post, and he found his way up to Lunga Lunga and got transport, and Kelef picked him up. I called Kelef and he picked.
Torture is against the law. Na jambo jingine, Tanzania bado hawajasema wamefanya dhambi gani. Hata kushikwa, kuwekwa ndani na kupigwa na kukaa siku 3 umefungwa uso na pingu, anakwenda choni hivyo hivyo, kula hawezi kwa sababu akienda choni maskari wanaosimamia pale. Hii si haki.
And we shall stand and talk and say that we are here and we are to be seen and we are to be heard all the way from under our bellies, all the way up, and we shall project our voices and say out loud with no fear,
Ruto must go.
Musalia Mudavadi seems to really enjoy the deportation of Willy Mutunga and Martha Karua and other activists who were deported from Tanzania.
Wametembea. Wamejaribu kuenda kuleta ile mchezo wanaleta hapa katika manchi jirani. What has happened? What has happened?
And I don't like the way our foreign ministry is very sluggish in handling the deportation of Kenyans. You are not even finding out what happened.
Have you reached out, even through diplomatic channels, to the Tanzanian authorities to ask about their treatment, their arrest, detention, and deportation back to the country?
This is something that we'll take up through the diplomatic channels. I think it is something that has happened quite suddenly, as you're aware. And I think my focus now should be that can we help the individuals who are there to get out of the situation fast.
I was waiting for him to tell us that he actually spoke to the Tanzanian authorities about it. But to my surprise, Musalia Mudavadi did not have any contact with Tanzanian authorities even 24 hours after even a former Chief Justice of Kenya has been held incommunicado in a foreign country, in a neighboring country, in a country that we are supposed to have a bilateral trade, we are supposed to have bilateral agreements, in a country that we boast to be a community. We even have a passport that claims that us Kenyans, Ugandans, and Tanzanians are a community. And yet, we are not really community in real sense.
Has the ministry, its officials, reached out to them to just speak to them about their ordeal there and what happened?
No, I've not done that.
Do you intend to?
I will.
When?
I will. Don't worry, I will do.
And that's not even worse. Musalia Mudavadi decides to side with what Suluhu said in Tanzania.
Tusitowe nafasi. Walishaharibu kwao. Walishavuruga kwao. Nchi iliyobaki haijaharibika. Watu wako na usalama na amani na utulivu. Ni hapa kwetu. Kuna majaribio kadhaa. Niwaombe sana vyombo vya ulinzi na usalama na nyinyi wasimamizi wa sera zetu nje kutoa nafasi kwa watovu wa adabu wa nchi nyingine kuja kutovuka hapa kwetu. Hapana, hatutatoa nafasi kwa kiumbe yoyote kuja kutuvurugia hapa.
What caught my attention is the fact that they were not in a hurry to bring back Boniface Mwangi, and they've not been in a hurry to bring back Boniface Mwangi.
The family of Kenyan activist Boniface Mwangi, who has been missing for 3 days alongside Uganda's Agatha Twahire, is calling on Tanzania President Samia Suluhu to account for their whereabouts, dead or alive. They insist that the strained diplomatic ties between Kenya and Tanzania have nothing to do with Mwangi and have criticized both governments for their silence regarding his status.
And I ask myself, what is it that maybe is forcing our Kenyan authorities not to really care about Boniface Mwangi?
The High Court has certified as urgent a petition filed and which seeks to bar the nominees to the IEBC from attending approval hearings in Parliament or taking the oath of office. Kelvin Roy Omondi and Boniface Mwangi have moved to court to block the National Assembly and the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, Felix Koskei, from proceeding with the process.
And guess who wants the IEBC to be formed as soon as possible? Musalia Mudavadi.
Lakini we are seeing people who are getting worried. They want to delay elections. They went to court when the first process started. They said they wanted conversation, a dialogue. Dialogue was held. The process has started again. Through proxy, the same fellows are going to court to delay. Surely, you cannot have an IBC of all tribes.
So going by what Musalia Mudavadi has just said, you can see that this is a higher stake for Kenyan government. And that's why Boniface Mwangi was allowed to go inside the country while other activists were left in the airport. Because this was a trap. They wanted him inside the country so that they could arrest him and do whatever they are doing to him right now. So, as we speak, this is the reason, according to me, that Boniface Mwangi is still being held. It's because he has a case in the High Court. He has filed it and it has stopped the parliamentarians from approving what the president has put his finger on. The president wants the IBC commissioners who are friendly to him, according to many people.
The petitioners have further told the court that certain names were subsequently, in an opaque and in unclear circumstances, sneaked in as having been shortlisted, and they were subsequently interviewed by the now defunct IBC selection panel in very unclear circumstances. The court papers noted that the selection is not based on merit, as some of the candidates did not achieve high scores in their interviews, and some have integrity issues, while other candidates were irregularly added to the shortlist, thus compromising the process and inviting the court's sanction. Before High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi, the petitioners in their prayers told the court that the nominations contravene the Constitution in that they are not representative of Kenya's diverse communities, adding that it exclude other ethnic communities and persons with disabilities, and were selected without any prior consultation with the opposition political parties as required under the National Dialogue Committee report and the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Act of 2024.
This stopping is making the government not have bragging rights that the IEBC is now formed. And I believe that this is a lesson that they are teaching Boniface Mwangi. And it is unfortunate that in as much as Boniface Mwangi is fighting for the rights of not only Kenyans, but now extending to Tanzanians, Kenyans are being taken for a ride. It's unfortunate that Kenyans have no one to defend them.
They marched to the Tanzanian consulate in Nairobi, seeking clarity, seeking hope.
They just sound as blank as we all are. They have no information. The Tanzanian authorities are saying is that they have deported him, but there is no proof of this deportation. Why has nobody seen him? Why has nobody heard from him? The way I know Boni, he'd have contacted me one way or another.
It's very unfortunate that a prime cabinet secretary would actually side with a country that is demeaning the rights of Kenyans. Kenyans who just walked into a country. They were not in the streets protesting, but it's very unfortunate that even our government is siding with the foreign country in making sure that Kenyans' rights are being subdued.
How does this statement make you feel? This is a Tanzanian president talking about Utovu wa Kenya. Are you intending to protest this at all?
No, I will not protest.
Why not?
Because I think there's some truth. There's some truth.
Okay.
Let us face a few facts. The level of etiquette, the level of insults that we see bandied in Kenya, even though we have the freedom of speech, is sometimes going overboard. All right? So to the extent that he's saying that people sometimes have gone to extremes in their utterances in Kenya, it's a fact.
Even the prime cabinet secretary cannot side with Kenyans because they are activists. Even Willy Mutunga, even Martha Karua, people that have been in government, the cabinet secretary, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has not even contacted them to find out what happened.
Its officials reached out to them to just speak to them about their ordeal there and what happened?
No, I've not done that.
Do you intend to?
I will.
When?
I will. Don't worry, I will do that.
Okay.
What kind of government did we vote for? What type of government does not even think of its citizens even if they're in trouble? Why are they not even finding out what the problem is? Why are they not finding out why they were held in a foreign country for hours before being deported?
It's been very difficult because Boni fights for people. Yes. If this was anybody, Boni would have been here. Yes. And he takes the lead in fighting for people's rights. So for his rights to be violated in this way, it is completely unfair.
So now it is upon us Kenyans to realize the government will not side with those who are usually against them at any given point.
Suluhu alikosa suluhisho hadi akamruhusu ama akamwachilia akamweka huru Boniface Mwangi. Suluhu bila suluhu.
Kwani wewe utakubali upige kura mtu aibe? Wewe kama Mkenya mwenye unateseka as we speak now, utakubali uende upige kura 2027 alafu mtu achukue aongeze rais? Kwa sababu anatuambia kwamba hakuna rais ashawahi kuwa one term president. Sasa wanasema hata kama rais hatapita, watachukua kidogo kidogo kutoka kwa zile zetu waongeze rais apite. Kwani wewe kama Mkenya who are going through a very difficult times as we speak now, are you going to allow people to steal your elections? Kwani tutakuwa wajinga aina gani? Tutakuwa wajinga aina gani turuhusu watu waibe kura zetu yenye tumepiga na venye sisi tunateseka saa hii? Atuwaibe waongeze yule mwingine apate aingie kama rais. Kwani sisi tutakuwa wajinga aina gani? Si wajinga walisha Kenya. Sasa itakuwa aje mtu atuibie kura zetu?
One time. Sasa nini? Ground. Hatuongea. Sawa.
Hivi venye nanawa hivi. Ndio nanawa Ruto. Nimenawa Ruto kabisa. Nimenawa Ruto. Ruto Kasongo nimekunawa.
My people, unaingia kuiva alafu unaletewa one time kama chesa. Mulisema hamutaki kuchelewa in anything. Walai Kenyans, you never disappoint, and this is the reason as to why I just love my country Kenya. Munakuanga macho na munakuanga sete in anything. Anyway, Aluta, the struggle continues. We have to drain the swamps.
Say you more you.
Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Ruto.